Hi, Russell Downing from Newbury Bid. I'm afraid it's going to be a bit rinse and repeat. You're seeing a pattern build up here of what's going on. What I'm hopefully going to do is tell you what bids don't do. Bids don't become talking shops, and we've all been in those meetings, we've all been in those organisations where we sit around a table, we talk about all the issues, and then we come back a month later and we do exactly the same again, and that happens month after month after month after month. That's not what a bid does. A bid is a delivery vehicle to effect change. Let's leave you with that thought a second. So Newbury Bid, what have we done? We started in 2011. We did a full feasibility study, got the vote through in 2012, 42% turnout at ballot, which was very good, 72% in favour, 78% by rateable value. I'm sure you're aware you need 2 votes, for your bids to go through. Okay, so a very strong mandate to go through. What were we going to spend that money on? Well, we'd spent 12 months consulting with the businesses, saying, look, you've got this pot of money, what do you want to spend it on? Inevitably, a lot of them said, well, we don't really know. So we had lots of working groups, lots of working parties looking at it. And for us, our biggest problem is marketing. Now, depending where you live in the country, Newbury is between Reading and Swindon, or London and Bristol. People don't know where Newbury is, and if you say West Berkshire, I think scratching red even more. They've no idea. You mentioned Vodafone, you mentioned the racecourse, you mentioned the chap that was stuck in some trees a while ago while we built a road, and people start to get a clue of where we are. But Newbury is a really, really pretty market town. It's got a lot of character, a lot of history, it's got a lovely waterscape going through it, it's got lovely parks, but nobody knows where it is. It's almost a best kept secret. So it's no surprise, and I think reading your business plan very similar with you, for us it's about driving footfall into the town and putting Newbury on the map, which is what we're doing. How we're doing that? Through a whole host of things, from digital marketing to traditional marketing to events to word of mouth. Events are very big for us, and it's not just about getting people here for the event, it's then about the dwell time, how long you can keep them here, what's going to bring them back, and it's about the quality of the events that you put on. We're having tremendous traction at the moment with social media. I can't stand social media, I hate it with a passion. But I also appreciate that it's the best forum for me to get my message out there. So we pay a company to do it for us professionally, and we get some real good success with it. So I think it's also about finding out what you're not too comfortable with and making sure that works as well. So what has that done for us? Well, over the last 3 years, we're in double-digit footfall growth. So we're bucking the national trends tremendously. Our vacancy rates are at 7.2%, where the national average is up at nearly 14, 15 at the moment. So again, we're bucking the national trends there. We've now got people ringing up saying we're looking for units in Newbury, whereas before we were on the phone constantly saying we've got this unit, do you know anybody? We've now got people wanting it. The reason it's at 7.2%, when you get measurements and Springboard and various other people will do these for you, they measure a linear high street, so between 2 places. Our 7.2% covers the whole bid area. So that's the town centre, the secondary and the tertiary areas as well. It's about then communicating that back to the businesses. That's a great message for us to go back to business. Actually, did you know we've got an average of 200,000 visitors a week in this little old market town. We've got a very low vacancy rate. Don't you want to come and pitch your business here? And what that's done for us is allowed to create commercial revenue. So last year, for every pound of levy that we raised an additional 83 pence in commercial revenue. So last year we raised £180,000 additional income for the bid in 1 year. What has that done? Well, it's allowed the bid to operate completely free of charge. So all of our management costs are covered by that additional income, and then some more besides. So every penny of the levy that the business have invested has gone on projects, not on paying wages or running costs. What will happen with Abingdon bid, as has happened with these 2 bids, is once it's up and running, people will start to want to give you money. It sounds very odd, but they do. We went out there and we found people, Newbury Racecourse, which isn't in our bid area, is a big supporter of ours. They don't need to, they put a lot into our bid. We've got local companies who aren't in our bid area but have got a vested interest in the town and seen it successful. They now are voluntary contributors towards us. We go out and we put banners up and charge people for it. We get people into the town centre. We charge them for using that space. Very much the way you pay business rates. Why should they get it for free? But all that money goes back into the pot with your levy and allows us to do so much more than we could with just the levy. We do other things, obviously. We employ 1.5 sounds odd, 1.5 town ambassadors. We like to call them our concierge because that's what they are. They're a mobile customer service in the town centre. A lot of bids call them street rangers, and they'll deal with a whole different spectrum of problems. Some of them it's antisocial behaviour, as you've heard there. Some of them it's about dirty towns, various things. We don't suffer with that, thankfully. We haven't got a dirty town, we haven't got a particularly rough town. So we took the other chance and said, actually, we want our rangers, our concierge, to be a customer service, so a very smartly dressed customer host in the town centre helping visitors about. That's working really, really well. They're the face of our bid. They're out on the street every day, feeding back information. And they can feed it back to us, they can feed it back to the police, they can feed it back to the council. But I guess the most important thing that it's done, it's given a unified voice of 647 businesses for us to bang down the door at West Berkshire Council, at Newbury Town Council, and affect change. So things that the businesses, the business community in the town are not happy with, it's given us a real powerful lobbying voice. So we can go and say, actually, the bulk of your revenue from business rates comes from this area, and those guys aren't happy. And it's opened up a whole load of discussions, like what Liz said, that wouldn't happen individually. And it sounds cheesy, but our tagline is we can achieve so much more together. And it is about, the bids are about bringing all these organisations together around a table and being the gel that brings them all together and glues them together and affects change. And that's what's happening in Newbury. Depending on your view, I love bids, obviously, you'd think so, but I'm not happy with them the way they stand. I think they need to be more transparent. I think there needs to be more legislation governing them. So you can either sit on the sidelines and complain about that, or you can do something about it. I got myself elected onto the British Bids Advisory Board so we can affect change from within. We're now looking at governance, we're now looking at the guiding principles, what makes good bids. Because there's now over 200, there's bound to be, in that time, some that aren't as good as others, some that aren't quite there. And we want to make sure that every bid is of a similar level. So we're looking at that, we're talking to the MP about that at the moment. We're also talking about Sunday trading hours. We're talking about other legislation. Where am I going with this? What I'm trying to do is encourage you to get involved with the bid. You can achieve more together. And I've heard lots of stories tonight around the room of, well, what am I going to benefit from it? If the high street's busy, every business is busy. It's not always an immediate return, but over the long term, over 5 years, if your high street's busy, every business will benefit, regardless what business you're in. And that's leisure, that's office, that's retail, that's pubs, you name it, every business will benefit from a busy town centre.